What are you doing? That's not Kemetic legacy. At the Fan, peace and blessings. This is Derric, RauKhu more. And apologize for not being making any videos in the past couple of weeks or so. Those of you who have kids, you know pretty much what happens. Your kid goes, especially young kids. Your child goes to school. As soon as one of them goes ahead, one of the classmates gets a cold or gets a fever or anything, they come home and they bring that home to everybody else. So we've been, we're doing well, but we've been going in and out and everything with, because of the kid. I've had some videos that were actually done before all this took place. But as most of you know, I always try to go ahead and seek approval, and I'm going to talk about that. That's the whole point of this video. But I always try to go ahead and seek approval. I always do readings. Because I saw some videos. Man, I've seen some videos. I've seen some videos about, with some people who say they're conscious, having full-fledged demeaning debates and arguments and everything. Not trying to go ahead and name anybody and all that kind of stuff, because it's no point of doing that. I've watched a lot of disturbing things that have taken place. And the only reason why I say it, and the only reason why I mention it, again, I'm not trying to, blow up anybody. I'm not trying to criticize or judge anyone. But the reason why I found it to be very disturbing is mainly because this is all done in the name of Kemet. These are people who say, hey, guess what, but I'm, I follow a Kemetic spiritual path, or I'm about Kemetic spirituality, or, I'm about the history of Kemetic people and all this. And it's like, it gives a false, I know I shouldn't worry about it. I'll put it like that. And it's hard not to. And that's the reason why I initially did a video and everything. But like I said, was getting ready to post it. And every time I got ready to post some of these videos that I made, hear the word I. Every time I got ready to post the videos I made, it was like always there was something happening. Some kind of technical issue or something. And eventually went ahead and was like, okay, let me go do a reading. Let me find out. And sure enough, ancestors and spirit guides was like, no go. They didn't want me involved in that. They didn't want me to get involved in that. And I'm saying that because I'm not going to be with you. I'm not going to, make this a long video or so. I'm going to try to make it as short and sweet as possible. Mainly because, as you can hear, if you can't hear, my voice is still going through a repairing process. But went ahead and like I said, I did the readings. Ancestors was like, no go. They didn't want me to be a part of that. And before I even go any further, I appreciate you all sharing. I appreciate you make your comments. Appreciate you if you subscribe. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. But in the process of that going on, I know I have some family here that's on this channel. And I say family because we're still cut from the same spirit, the same mind, the same divine mind. But I know I have some family on here that comes from different groups, organizations, beliefs, backgrounds, whatever. And You're in the habit of doing that. You're in the habit of seeing people argue their point as if this is almost like the presidential debate, and whoever basically makes the most convincing argument is the one who wins, is the one who, who wins the argument and wins the following, until they can come back up and do another debate, or they can do another argument. I know a lot of people are used to that. That's not Kemetic spirituality. That's not Kemetic legacy, okay? If you go back and you study true Kemetic history, and you study the fact that the spiritual systems that they had, hear my words, systems. They had several schools. Now, archaeologists, they'll try to tell you, well, it was not that they had several schools, but it was that they had a difference in opinion and well, how do they put it? They don't say a difference in opinion. They'll say they had this rival school, okay? And the reason why they say that is because Western thought is always on this whole polarization thing. It's either this or that. It's either good or bad. It's either, fantastic or it's evil. There is no gray area in Western thinking, okay? It's always, in Western thinking, one or the other. So when they study Kemetic history and they study the Kemetic systems and all that, that's how they report it, okay? They don't understand that, okay, this could be an offshoot, and that offshoot still agree with what everybody else was dealing with, but they wanted to pursue something from a different perspective. They don't see it like that, okay? But if you go back and you look at all the Kemetic creation theories, they all begin with the same way. They all begin with the same way. In the beginning, there was nothing but a cosmic void of new. In the beginning, until the divine goes ahead and calls itself into being. They all begin that same way. They might go ahead and say, well, it was the who and the Sia, and they'll name off all these different attributes. They might say, oh, it might have been, it began with Amun Ra, or it began with Ra. They might say, oh, it was Aten that dealt with that, that basically started all this. They'll say all these different names, but all these different names are all attributes of the same divine consciousness. And if you follow this Western approach, you follow this Western way of doing things, you'll keep running into these same problems. And unfortunately, the reason why so many of us keep falling for this is because a lot of us are afraid. Okay? Because, see, when you get to this real consciousness, okay, when you get into Kemetic spirituality, that's the real consciousness. You begin to see something. You begin to go through one of those parallel shifts. Okay? You begin to go through a parallel shift. It's a paradigm shift, but you begin to go through this whole parallel shift. All of a sudden, you will sense it. You will feel it. Okay? And you can't explain it, but it's there. Before I went here and I was diagnosed, with the whole lupus thing and all that kind of stuff, prior to that happening, I kept saying, I feel like there's a bridge in front of me and I have to walk this bridge, but I don't know if I want to walk this bridge. I kept saying that. I kept having a dream about a bridge. And it was just one of those little, kind of like one of those, you see those movies where they have the rickety bridge and everything that's made out of wood and look like it's tied with a piece of twine, like as soon as you walk on it, it's going to fall. I kept seeing this bridge. And I kept seeing this bridge, and I was seeing it in visions, I was seeing it in dreams, and I knew what it was saying, but I didn't know what was holding me back from walking the bridge. And then, like I said, then it was like maybe whatever. After that, a few years or whatever the case may have been, that's when I went ahead and I became ill. That's when my body became ill. And after my body became ill, I became a new individual. So it made me realize the problem wasn't, I was in fear of change. I was fear of telling my mama, hey, Mom, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in that. And the reason why, X, Y, Z. I was afraid to tell people and reveal to people what I actually know and what I actually believe. I was afraid of being able to stand on my own. I was afraid of that. And that's what kept me back. See, a lot of us, we go ahead and we still have that fear going on because, and it's rightfully so, we were raised in the West. We were raised not to believe in this. We were raised not to put any kind of, belief or stock in anything that we cannot physically see. This is the reason why most of you who are on here, you got somebody you follow. You got a leader. You might not declare them a leader. You might not declare them to be a teacher, but you follow them because that's how you have been programmed to do. You've been programmed to follow other people. You've been programmed to get certification from other people. You've been programmed that way. So that's why we have people who are on this channel. We got brothers and sisters on this channel. Mainly brothers are in this. And they want to go ahead and they get on the channel and they want to argue the point. Well, I don't believe the Kemetic people did this and this and this and this. Or they want to, well, brother, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate what you're saying, but you wrong in this. I hear them say that. These are some of the DMs I get, okay? And 10 years ago, that would have irked me. 10 years ago, I would have gotten into a debate. Who this? And 10 years ago, if you went ahead and you dropped this science and all that kind of stuff, I would have been like, oh man, yeah, that's deep. 10 years ago, if you came to me and said, hey, guess what, you ought to check out this individual. I went on that video let me check them out. 10 years ago. Okay? 10 years ago, before I crossed my bridge. 10 years ago, before I faced my fear. 10 years ago, I would have done that. Not now. Okay? Now, if an individual comes to me and be like, oh, they want to drop some science and, hey, bro, and this and that and the other and all this other kind of stuff, I say, oh, yeah, that's great. How is that serving you? Because that's what it's all about. Because what's the whole point of all that science if you can't use it? What's the point of telling me all your science? Or what's the point of telling anybody all your knowledge and what you're so knowledgeable about? What's the point of it? You trying to get a following? You trying to be the next leader? What's the point? I'm telling you what the point is. The point is you are stroking your ego. I know because I used to do it. Used to do it. And this is the reason why. We can't go no further. because people are stroking their egos. Now, I'm not knocking you, and I'm not judging you or any of that. But it's the same reason why you are actively seeking certification. That's what you're doing. I don't care how deep an individual is. Because what I've noticed is that all these individuals, like I said, if you look on the internet and you go ahead and you watch some of these videos, all these individuals, they deep on one end, but they're not well-rounded. They're deep, but they can't keep a relationship. They can't talk to anybody. They're deep, but they broke financially. They deep, but they can't even build anything in their community. But they deep. What's the point of that? That's not Kemetic. That's not the Kemetic legacy. And this is the thing that gets me, because people are sitting up here making it seem like spirituality is all about, it's the snow bunny stuff. Oh, you're supposed to walk around on clouds, smiling and being happy, because spirituality has been promoted as a do-gooder thing. So in other words, it's like you've gone from you've left the church, you've left the kingdom hall, you've left the temple and the mosque, or whatever the case, you've left whatever it is, just to be a do-gooder. That ain't spirituality. That's not spirituality. That's not the Kemetic way. That's not the Kemetic legacy. You know the reason why they keep promoting this thing about Akhenaten? Well, Akhenaten was a great Kemetic king, but the Kemetic people, they went ahead and they couldn't come out their pagan ways. They didn't want to become monotheistic. You know the reason why they keep promoting that BS? It's because they got a whole slew of kings and queens that would fight them tooth and nail if they brought that nonsense to them. And the only one who didn't, the only one who opened the way and almost had Kemet taken over, and eventually Kemet was conquered, was Akhenaten. So they're trying to tell you, a great king is somebody who goes ahead, if your stuff is so great and if your spirituality is so great, they should have went ahead and allowed them to come in. Okay? That's why they keep telling you that. That's why you keep seeing all this stuff about the Kemetic people were this, or the ancient Egyptians were this. That is totally contradictory to everything that all those kings and queens did for the first 3,000 years. That's what they keep trying to get you. That's why they keep trying their best to distort it. They don't want you to know that. Okay? So, understand, Kemetic spirituality is about overcoming your ego. Let me be specific, because I said this before, and I say this, and I'm trying to go ahead and speak general, because I don't want to step on people's toes, and I don't want people saying, I don't want you following me. I don't need that. I got other things that I have to do. You got other things you got to do. We don't need all these leaders and followers, okay? People who are going to go ahead and they're going to gravitate towards you. You're supposed to teach them, do what you can, move on. But this is not a follow the leader thing. The Kemetic people were not about following the leader until after, the late dynasties or so. They were not about that. So, let me be specific. The Kemetic spirituality is about overcoming your ego. Your ego is not about being a good person or not being a bad person. No, your ego, your set is about anything. It's about acting and behaving from an emotional perspective. Anytime you are emotionally encouraged, you're emotionally influenced to do anything, you are following your ego. That's what Kemetic spirituality is about. Okay? We gotta get rid of this whole Western way of thinking. We have to do this. You have to go ahead and let me tell you, one of the best ways of going ahead and trying to and breaking this bondage, breaking this whole thing, one of the best ways of doing this is to write your own obituary. That's right. Write your own obituary. Write your obituary of what you want to be remembered as. Okay? See, when you go ahead and you look at all the things that the great Kemetic kings and queens did, and you read all their accomplishments, okay? And then you compare this to Akhenaten, it becomes crystal clear why the Kemetic people was like, scratch that joker's name off of everything you can find. That's the reason why these Western archaeologists never want to go ahead and tell you about everyone else. That's why they keep going back to, Nefertiti and Tutankhamun. That's the reason why they keep going back to these same Kemetic individuals. But they never talk about any of the other ones. They never talk about any of their histories or their legacy. That's what you're supposed to be creating. And that's what they don't want you to create. That's the reason why they keep distorting things, or we want to have a debate about this. And the individuals who are supposed to be conscious, they don't seem to understand this. Okay? I mean, it's not clear. Who cares about the ethnicity of the Kemetic people if you can't use that same science, that same wisdom, that same spiritual technology to improve your life? Who cares? Do you understand the equivalency? This is almost like meeting someone on the street who's homeless, doesn't have anything, but guess what? They're a brilliant stock market. They know everything they can about the stock market. And you're sitting up here thinking like, why you're in this situation? It's the same thing. Okay? So like I said, one of the best ways of going ahead and to make this paradigm shift, the shift into so you can walk your bridge. So you can walk your bridge and really grow and get on this occult thing, get on this other level. One of the best things I found and that I've used, write your own obituary. Write what you want to be remembered as. Okay? Because when you write what you want to be remembered as, you will go ahead and you'll come off as writing yourself into ancestral history, into ancestral memory. Everybody who passes and makes that transition is not really an ancestor. Okay? So you know what makes Malcolm X, El-Haj Malik Shabazz a powerful ancestor? It's the fact that he did the whole street thing. He did the whole prison thing. He did all of that. He still made mistakes and all that, but he did all of those things. But when he got into this life, he was not about to get out of it. He wasn't like Martin Luther King, who went ahead and, he did this and he did these things. And, excuse me, and then when he came out of it, he might have dabbled in this. And you can't find any of those kind of stories about Malcolm. Okay? Just like you can't find any of these stories or any of these distortions and contradictions in many of the Kemetic kings and queens' lives. The older ones. The ones that they don't talk about. Oh, but you'll find that in Akhenaten. You see that flaw? See, they praise Akhenaten because Akhenaten claimed to do this whole divine thing. I'm a divine king, but was very, very humanly flawed. They don't talk about the other Kemetic kings and queens because I know they use an oracle. Now, that brings me back to this. I've told you all before, you gotta get into this oracle. You gotta get into using an oracle system. Some of y'all are trying, you messaging me saying, hey, I want to go ahead, I want to hook up, I want to get a mate now, or I want to get, I'm tired of the single life. The ancestors and spirit guides are not going to bless you with they're not going to help you get with nobody because you won't get an oracle. You want one, an oracle system. Okay? Because what I'm trying to get you to understand is this. We are all screwed. White supremacy got its hands on everything. Okay? White supremacy has been everywhere. White supremacy is, it's over there. Oh, but it's stretched over there to Africa. It's in the Caribbean. White supremacy is everywhere. And when I say white supremacy, please don't get it twisted. Don't think I'm saying, oh, it's the white man that did this and all that kind of stuff. No, I'm talking about the whole Western system of this whole domination and creating and convincing people that they are inferior and that people based upon their color of their skin are because of their lighter color of their skin are more superior than other people. That is part of the whole white supremacy system. And because of that system, everybody has been touched and influenced by it. It has some type of inferiority complex that is going on within them that forces them to go ahead and to listen and follow their ego. That's the system. If you're dealing with Christianity, you're dealing with any Western religion, you've been influenced by it. Okay? So, the ancestors and spirit guides say the only thing that is going to help you to get out of this situation so that you can get an objective response, objective thinking, okay? Correction, objective thinking to help you make the correct decisions. You gotta have an oracle. Because the oracle helps you to communicate with your ancestors and your spirit guides who don't have a physical body. So they don't have an ego. They ain't influenced by the ego like we are. This is the Kemetic legacy. This is how we get to the next level. And this is why they're coming out with all this woke stuff and everything, because they're trying their best to distort it. We're going to make a video about this. As soon as we get a little bit better, we're going to make a video about this. Because I had a long conversation with my ancestors and my guides. But that's what's going to occur. Okay? When we go ahead and you start dealing, and when you get into this oracle system, I'm telling you, you're going to go through this transition. You're going to go through this whole death, this mini death of dying to this Western way of doing things. But when you die to it, you will not go back. You'll be like Malcolm. You'll be like, I'm through with that. I can't deal with that. Because you'll see the flaws in it. See, we're afraid to leave. And because of our fear, which is an illusion anyway, because of our fear, we are preventing from doing the things that we were brought here to do, that we signed on to do. Okay? So, like I said, I didn't want to make this a long video. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. But this is what we have to do. So, like I said, let me say it again. Write your own obituary. Write what you want to be remembered for. Because when you write what you want to be remembered for, that is your spirit that is talking. That's your spirit that's going ahead. Your spirit is going ahead and saying, this is what you're supposed to be. Okay? You're supposed to be this individual. And you'll start to see what's holding you back. Okay? All right? So, until next time, as I've stated before, thanks again for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Got any questions or comments or anything, feel free, drop them down for me, okay? And until next time, had to poo, y'all. Peace. Don't pretend